Imagine you just got out of work and are heading to the gym with the intention of having the most magnificent leg day. And if, like me, you work during the day, your two options are to either go at the ass crack of dawn, which no, or go after work during prime time, which is most convenient. You've got your leg day planned in your head or written out if you're a little more organized and can't wait to hit some barbell back squats, only to get to the gym and see a sea of people to have the rest of your day ruined. And at this moment, you know you're probably not going to be able to get a rack in a timely manner because somehow there's a wait list of 7 people waiting for one of those racks. And Lord knows that the bodybuilder has about 10 sets left, the influencer needs to switch camera angles in between each set, and there's that one dude that's bullshitting on his phone and not even doing anything. So you think, forget it, I'll go hit the leg press. Just to realize that you're 4th on that wait list. At this point, your pre-workout's already kicked in, you're on the brink of rage, and now have no choice but to go and hit goblet squats. Ladies and gentlemen, the scenario I just described is a byproduct of the massive change in gym culture over the course of the last decade, which created the crowded gym epidemic. Now, while the fitness and health craze really started in the 1950s, it's had its ebbs and flows over the course of its evolution. From hula hooping to vibrating belts to the widespread exposure of bodybuilding, the general sentiment around physical culture had been positive. It had been widely accepted that cigarettes were bad for you and vegetables were good. Reductive, I know, but the essence is that the importance of physical activity on overall health was no longer something to be ignored, yet still only inspired few people to take action. Limited health and fitness clubs like Gold's Gym, Bally's, and YMCA began being offered to the general public in the 1970s, with commercial gym chains taking off in the 1980s. The 80s also saw the rise of the aerobics craze, while the 90s saw the takeover of Richard Simmons in the Sweat Into the Oldies series. Home workout videos had caught so much fire that it seemed like every celebrity was hopping on the train just to be able to capitalize on the most recent trend. This lasted well into the 2000s with the inception of Tony Horton's P90X in 2005 and Shaun T's Insanity series in 2009, both of which are still active to this day. But with each new iteration of the at-home workout catching fire every few years, there was one thing that remained a constant: the gym.
Oh my God, he on X Games mode.
Up until this point, gyms had been around for a really long time, seeing increased memberships year over year, and had remained a consistent and reliable means of staying in shape while optimizing your physical activity. But here's the thing about the gym that hasn't changed since the first gym in America opened: discipline. You have to go out of your way to be there. It requires consistency and a willingness to incorporate it within your schedule and lifestyle. From mapping out your commute to meticulously planning your training sessions and even adjusting your workouts on the fly, going to the gym has always been one of the most consistent and reliable means of maximizing your training goals. A fact which became very apparent when the home workout wave started to die, when people were beginning to realize that their home wasn't really a setting that promoted physical activity, but relaxation. You see, P90X and Insanity and all of the other home workout programs and solutions were really meant for the very small minority of people who had an incredibly difficult time getting to the gym because of an absurdly busy schedule. And in those rare cases, some type of workout solution was better than nothing. But what happened was a huge influx of people who were enticed by the heavy marketing of Beachbody saw it as a replacement for an actual gym and an easier alternative to getting to their physique goals based on the success stories of the people that they saw in those ads. They figured, hey, if I could get a physique that impressive from home, why would I go to the gym? The problem that a lot of those people who hopped on the bandwagon would later realize is that training with nothing but a set of dumbbells and resistance bands wasn't only severely limiting, but not as fun for most people when the gym offered you so much more. Not to mention the shift in mindset from training in an environment that's meant for it versus training in an environment where you sleep and watch TV. Just from personal experience, every time I've tried training from home in a limited environment, I've struggled mightily. COVID alone represented a time when my motivation for training was at an all-time low, because I just wasn't in the right environment to be motivated enough to maximize my training. And any attempt I made to get some good quality equipment was made almost impossible by the lack of availability and the ridiculous price gouging that was going on with the pieces that were available. People were really trying to finesse 45-pound plates for $100 more than they were actually worth. Nasty business. So this brings us to today, where the digital workout wave has died down substantially and everybody has gone crawling back to the gym like the good old days. But boy, has it been a lot different. I don't know if it was the reality of mortality that brought an influx of people into gyms or the growth of social media fitness as a whole, but gyms for the last few years have gotten more and more packed, especially the commercial ones, which would make sense considering memberships among the major chains has been increasing steadily since 2020 and these gyms have also been seeing an increase in revenue year over year. The data for privately owned gyms and boutiques is more bleak, as they represented an overwhelming majority of gym closures during the pandemic. But from a general sense, the fitness industry and the gym industry specifically has been doing very well, which all in all is a very good thing, don't get me wrong, because for a really long time, at least in my opinion, the general sentiment around health and fitness in America has been pretty negative. I don't know if it's been the exponential increase in childhood obesity in the last 30 years or just the general promotion of unhealthy habits, but America has not prioritized health in a very long time. If you were one of those people who made your health and fitness a huge part of your lifestyle, then you are one of the few Americans that was seen as weird, obnoxious, or vain. Yeah, it's a great lifestyle to maintain, but the fact that most people never understood it made it harder for those of us who are highly active to be accepted as normal, like it always should have been. There will forever be the pressure of having to conform to your family members and colleagues' eating habits just to feel normal, when prioritizing and being disciplined with your health should have always been the norm a long time ago. Even to this day, there's still a bit of a stigma with it, but because of social media, that stigma has largely disappeared. Because over the course of the last few years, it's become trendy to be fit, which naturally encouraged a huge crop of younger tech-savvy kids to find a purpose in going to the gym and making content. You see, a large part of this new influx of gym goers have been people who want to hop on this fitness wave of content creators that have blown up and made millions, or be involved in the space that they're in because they're inspired. Some of these people started their own movements or found a way to stand out among the rest. The likes of Sam Sulek, the Trend Twins, and Lean Beef Patty. So in essence, working out, being fit, and pursuing your fitness goals has never been more popular or trendier, which brings us to where we are now. Massive overcrowding at all times of the day, particularly in commercial gyms. The days of going to LA Fitness during prime time and being able to get an adequate training session are absolutely over, and have been over for what feels like a long time now. Now, that's not to say that commercial gyms had ever been empty. It's just that the demographic of people who prioritize their training has increased substantially, so much so that a lot of these gym goers are being driven away from commercial gyms due to that overcrowding. If you think about it, somebody who trains casually or goes to the gym just to check off that box is probably going to be annoyed by the overcrowding, but not enough to leave. Because for the casual gym goer, it's really not that deep. But consider the perspective of somebody who takes the gym a lot more seriously. An enthusiast, if you will. That person gets the most out of their workouts by being able to maximize it, which means being able to stick to whatever program they or their trainer put together, and being able to get through those sets efficiently. But that efficiency gets a hell of a lot harder when you can't even access the equipment that you need consistently because there are lines of people and crowds of people making it difficult just to get in a set of squats or deadlifts. And there is nothing more frustrating than waiting for a piece of equipment that someone isn't even using correctly. A bit arrogant, I know, but that is something that irks me a little more than it should. Because if you're not sure how to use something, either ask the staff or a knowledgeable friend, or even look it up on YouTube, because there are way too many educational videos out there to be borderline hurting yourself in the gym. Because it's not fair for you to have to watch somebody hold a machine hostage that they're not even getting maximum use out of. They're not only wasting your time, but the time of other members. But this issue, as well as other issues that I've highlighted, are reasons why we're seeing more enthusiastic gym goers migrate from commercial gyms to less commercialized or even private gym environments. That's not even to mention the absolutely deviant behavior that social media clout has polluted the gym scene with. But that's for another video. But gone are the days where gyms that were tailored more for bodybuilders and powerlifters exclusively held those crowds. People who don't even compete are and have been shifting away from commercial gym atmospheres due to not just overcrowding, but another huge factor in discontent in the gym space among gym goers: motivation. When you walk into the gym and you're the most focused and enthusiastic person there, there's less of an incentive to push yourself unless you're a competitor that's been doing it for so long that it doesn't matter. Because it's easy to hear all the praise and confirmation bias from people telling you that you're so strong, you're making so much progress, you're already where you need to be, and you're working so hard. It's a lot harder being 5 feet away from somebody who can rep what you struggle with. But damn, is it motivating. It's also extremely motivating being surrounded by people that are constantly getting after it. And that's not just in the gym setting, that's everywhere. And that constant motivation and push is exactly what most avid gym goers need to help them continue to make progress. They need an environment that encourages them to push themselves to their maximum capacity, because it gets increasingly harder to do that when nobody else around you is. It gets harder to do that when you have to constantly modify your workout on the fly. Now, modifying your workout on the fly is actually a really important skill that I think every gym goer needs to have and requires a good understanding of exercise science. If you know what exercises target what muscle groups, you can easily make changes on the fly when you can't access the equipment that you need. But even if you have that skill, it's not something that you want to have to employ every single workout. It comes way more in handy in those rare instances where you have to. But in perpetually crowded environments like a lot of commercial gyms these days, it almost becomes a necessity, which completely sucks the fun out of training. Nobody wants to have to modify or even abandon their training program every single workout because of limitations at their gym. It completely defeats the purpose of having a program when you can't even adhere to it in a practical way consistently, which leaves a lot of people with the option of either having to suck it up or upgrade to a different gym environment, which then brings up cost-benefit analysis. I say upgrading because there are different tiers of gyms for different people depending on where they're at in their fitness journeys, with each tier requiring a greater investment. But the return on that investment is completely dependent upon what you're getting out of that particular gym. To get a better understanding of this concept, let's look at the trans-theoretical model of change and how it applies to adopting a healthy lifestyle. This model is made up of 5 stages. 5 stages that every person who's a regular gym goer has gone through. Stage 1 is the pre-contemplation phase, the phase where you have no care for health and fitness. Sure, it's a concept that you generally understand, but fitness is not something that's remotely important enough to you to even consider getting into. When you were in this stage, the idea of adopting a healthier lifestyle had more cons than pros. For me, this was early high school when I was housing whole pizzas and Nutella sandwiches and not thinking anything of it. Yes, I was really doing that on the regular. But then I reached stage 2, which is the contemplation phase. This is the phase where you recognize that you had poor eating habits and were living a sedentary lifestyle, but still didn't have the will or motivation to change it. I personally was super anxious and down on myself during this phase because I was well aware that I needed to adopt healthier eating habits, but didn't know how to start or where to proceed because everything was so overwhelming. So I just didn't. It was this constant battle between desperately wanting to change, but then also hating myself for feeling too helpless to do it. But once you finally get tired of that helpless feeling and accept the need to take action, you've entered stage 3. The preparation phase, the stage where your outlook on fitness changed completely because of this new mindset. Now suddenly the idea of adopting a healthier lifestyle has more pros than cons and you're ready to make the leap. So you start doing research on gyms and training programs and likely start consuming a lot more fitness content on social media. Now at this point, your confidence in transitioning to this new lifestyle is a lot higher, which leads to increased motivation as well. Which brings you to stage 4, the action phase.
So I am the villain, because I've made myself one.
The stage where you finally take the leap in getting into the gym for the first time and making a habit of going consistently and training consistently, even if it's not efficiently. My action phase was highlighted by the summer that I walked into the gym for the first time to train with my uncle at LA Fitness and have never left the gym since. From there, I moved on to stage 5, the maintenance phase, where the gym became such a big part of my life and routine that I made it a habit to incorporate everything else around it. No matter what was going on in my life, whether it be navigating classes in college or changes in my work schedule, I always found a way to get into the gym, even if it was at 5 in the morning or 9:30 at night. The maintenance phase is exactly like this for most regular gym goers. Consistency is the key in the maintenance phase, even if that means only training 2 times a week regularly. And in this stage, falling back into old habits definitely happens, but you're still capable of getting back on track due to having probably seen a lot of progress, which has increased your confidence significantly at this point. Now, this is the stage where most gym goers exist. They go to the gym to maintain an active lifestyle and stay healthy. Some of them go out of their way to really push themselves and maximize their workout, and some don't. But what they all have in common is that they're there consistently. This isn't the final stage though. There is one more stage that's actually not mentioned in the model. There are 1% of people who will get bored simply maintaining, because simply put, maintenance in general is boring. You're doing the same thing repetitively with no greater goal or motivation other than to stay in shape, which there's nothing wrong with. But what if you need more? What if simply maintaining just isn't enough for you? What if the idea of taking your fitness journey to a competitive level is something that entices you? As a competitive person, this is the point where I got to, a stage that I like to call competitive maintenance. This is the stage where bodybuilders, powerlifters, and other competitors alike exist. You see, in competitive maintenance, you're not simply watching what you eat. You're adhering to a pretty strict meal plan designed to maximize your physique or performance based on what you're competing in. This is usually done with the help of a coach or a nutritionist. You're not just training to see what works. You're vigorously and meticulously following a training program and a meal plan that's designed to optimize your performance to allow you to peak for your target competition. Your training and dieting is a lot less malleable, leading you to having to bring your own meals to work lunches or just not going, or having to stay at the gym until close. Things that other people wouldn't consider worth it, but when you exist in competitive maintenance, normality doesn't exist. There's very little balance in the grind to maximizing your goals. But for most competitors, that lack of balance is an acceptable compromise when you compare that feeling of accomplishment after a competition to the hard work that it took to get there. Competitive maintenance isn't just about being rigorous with your training and diet, but very specific with your environment as well. Because there's nothing that fuels a competitive mindset more than a competitive environment, full of like-minded people chasing similar goals and attacking it with the same intensity. So for someone within competitive maintenance, they're not getting the most out of a commercial gym that is likely not catered to them. And in some cases, like Planet Fitness, has policies and procedures that are meant to alienate these very people. Because commercial gyms focus primarily on profit and less on member satisfaction. For commercial gyms, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And to them, if you don't like the gym, go elsewhere. Which is exactly what we're starting to see. More and more people within the maintenance phase are gravitating towards less commercialized gym environments that cater to more gym enthusiasts and competitors, even if they don't have any plans on competing. Because that environment alone can be enough to completely alter someone's experience in the gym. The difference is staggering, something I'm always reminded of when I do have to train in a more commercial environment. Very recently, I went to Chicago and stopped at an LA Fitness because it was the only gym in the area, and the front desk staff, for some reason, could not process a day pass. I had to speak to a sales manager so they can give me the standard sales pitch that I didn't want when I just wanted to pay for the day. An option that they did have available that would have taken just 5 minutes if they had allowed the front desk staff to process it, but instead wasting 30 minutes of my time despite knowing exactly why I came there, which was not a gym membership. But they had to due to company policy. It just reminded me why I started commuting 30 minutes away from my hometown just to get a drastically better gym experience. Because the owners of these gyms know exactly what fitness enthusiasts like me are looking for. A simple experience and environment that can allow for us to train the way we need to without promotions and sales pitches being shoved down our throats every single day, or a corporate bureaucracy trying to siphon every penny from us. And with competitive maintenance as a whole becoming trendier and trendier in itself, more and more people have been flocking to these less commercialized gyms just to be able to mess around with a variety of equipment and be around people that train just as hard as they do. So overcrowding isn't really going anywhere, and it's probably only going to get worse as more and more people are becoming active and entering that action phase, driving up more traffic in commercial gyms, which will then increase more traffic to the less commercialized gyms out there, because the priority on health and fitness is something that I think will continue to increase with time. And as more gym enthusiasts start having kids and passing on that enthusiasm for fitness onto them, we're just going to see that trend continue with the next generation of lifters, which will hopefully create the market for the less commercialized and unique gym that caters specifically to the gym enthusiast. Either way, I'm here for it and will still be training regardless. If you somehow made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and if you did like it, please leave a like and a comment for the algorithm and subscribe to the channel for more content. I'm Paul Kofi. Thank you for watching.